Hello. So, never really sure when those are going to end, those little intros. So, welcome to the first real session of 2022. The Among Us one didn't really count, did it? That was a bit of fun. Anyways, a quick shout out to our sponsors, Freecast and Policy Pack. Thank you for all your support over the past year. It's been brilliant. So, today we're going to mix up a little bit. We're going to put some rules in for our giveaway that we're going to start off with starting now. And the idea is that we're going to give away some exam vouchers. So 2 Pearson Vue Microsoft exam vouchers for the fundamental exams. Those are the ones that are 900, I think, and they're generally a little bit cheaper than the main ones. So I'm going to give those away. And so all you need to do for a chance to win. Oh, hang on, I'm meant to be sharing my screen. All you need to do for a chance to win an exam voucher, probably not 2 because that's not how random works, but maybe it will, is simply put a message into chat anytime from now until the end of the talk. Mention #exam in the message so we can pick it up when we filter, and tell us which exam you would like to take, and we'll buy the exam for you using a Pearson Vue exam voucher. And then hopefully you can take the exam. I think you need to do it within a year or something of receiving it. So hopefully that'll help you out if you are looking to pass a fundamental exam. With regards to rules, we are going to choose the winners live at the end of the session. We'll hopefully have a couple of... Oh, look, our heads are in the way. Didn't expect that. 1 second. It's going to move our heads. Sorry, guys. And didn't help, did it? Winners will have... How about I do that? There you go. Winners will have 2 minutes to claim their prize. We're going to do a bit of chatting about some future events while we wait for those 2 minutes. But ideally, you see your name, we'll tell you that you've won. Congratulations. Put a message into chat and give us a shout, and we will get those vouchers to you. So, you can't really ask any questions, really, because you're on chat and there's a couple of minutes delay. So please do give us a shout in chat if there's any questions. Otherwise, just put a message in chat with the #exam. In the meantime, over to the team. Hello, everyone. We have the awesome Mattias with us today. Let me just get to his... I'll share my screen again. Here he is. And you can see his face, on camera, live and everything. And Mattias, no doubt, will introduce himself. So I'll just hand over to you, Mattias, if that's all right. There you go. You got the hat.
Yeah. Hello. I'm Mattias, and if you couldn't recognize me without the cap, I just put that on. I got my hair cut, so it's okay. I can do it without cap today. So thank you, Dean.
You're welcome.
So are we going on with the show?
We should. And your screen stopped sharing, so I can't put it on.
I can definitely start sharing my screen.
That would help. Thank you very much. There he is. 1 second.
And it is.
Tell you what, I will drop my screen and I'll move the rest of us out of the way. So, over to you, Mattias.
All right. Thank you, Dean. And thank you very much for having me. I'm not doing a lot of live stuff. I usually do it backtracking. So I record myself and then I do a lot of editing afterwards. So it's a new challenge, but I like it. So what are we going to talk about today? It's a clean Word document, so we could talk of whatever, but I have promised that we should look into some application management and the foundation here to Microsoft Intune, also called Microsoft Endpoint Manager. So my plan is to go through what kind of possibilities do we actually have around applications? What formats do we have? We're going to look into Intune, say, okay, what can we leverage from there? We're going to look at how do we start with the folder structure, tooling that can help us test these applications. We're going to look at how we are getting these applications ready in Microsoft Intune. And lastly, we're going to look at how can we automate this by using Microsoft Graph. And that's a free way, by the way, and a paid way to do that. Also, if you're not that into code, then you might not be into the automation free way, and then you can buy that. And lastly, I'm going to show you a short demo of a live autopilot. So what could possibly go wrong here? So let's hope that the demo gods are with us. So just a little bit about myself. My name is Mattias, and I was awarded with the prestigious MVP award in June 2021, so fairly new to me. I'm a father to 3 kids, which you might soon will see in the background. They are going to be put into sleep. What else do I do? I have worked with IT since 2004, mainly with application automation. And yeah, currently working at a company, Danish company called Minecore, where we are 21 people, specialized in Microsoft 365 and Microsoft Intune and Azure infrastructure. So today's topic, we're going to look into the different installer types. And many of you guys know what EXE is. It is a executable that most of vendors were using to get their software installed to a device. So the thing about EXE files is that mainly they are not automated. So it is a process where you get your files, your registries, your services, whatever exists in that tooling that you are going to use. But it's not very clean, is it? Because if we're lucky, and I mean not very lucky, they have an unintended command. But when we think about EXE files, it's just a matter of getting the software to the device. But what about when we want to upgrade? Let's say I get a new version, and you also know that we have a lot of applications that continuously want to upgrade, like Google Chrome, for example. Every week, new version. So we need some kind of way to actually upgrade the stuff and make sure that everything is cleared out. What was, let's say, should be patched. So EXE files, we know these, but not the best for automation. The next format we are going to look at is MSI. And MSI is Microsoft's standard since 2000. In Office 2000, Microsoft searched for a way to have a, what could you say, thorough process to install applications. Now, MSI is a database format, and it contains 84 tables where we have relations in between, and it's handled like a transaction. So in the bank, you put money in, and it either go well or it doesn't go. You don't lose your money in the middle of the process, right? So that's the kind of how MSI is working as well. Either it goes good and it installs entirely into a device, or it fails in some step, and then it will make a rollback and leave your operating system as before the package was trying to install. So it is a much cleaner way, and that's why this format actually won very much on the platform very, very fast. But yeah, it wasn't very easy to actually get our EXE files to a MSI format. But since, and we have lots of MSIs today, and that is because we have a plugin to Visual Studio. So when the programmers are making their software, they can generate MSIs. It's just not real MSIs. It's just some custom action rolling out some software. So yeah, there you go. But it's MSI, and you can execute that with standard parameters. That's why this is so popular, and everyone is using it. Then later on, we got a format that was called AppV. And that was actually a company called Sofricity that Microsoft bought. Most of Microsoft services is something they buy. And this one was called Microsoft AppV, and it came in a lot of versions. And you can see here since 2006, we have had AppV, and we have had lots of different versions of this software. The problem was that it was a extra license you had to buy. It was the MDOP package, and most companies didn't want to buy this. But if they had Citrix or some other virtualization platform, it could be a benefit to actually have AppV because it was containerized. It was in a sandbox. So that was one of the benefits of AppV. After AppV, you can now see that in 2018, we have MSIX. So you could say MSI, isn't MSIX then the next gen of that? No, it's not at all. MSIX is a sandbox solution as well as AppV, and actually also AppX, the Universal Windows Platform. You have heard about UWP, which exists in the Microsoft Store. So MSIX is actually our new format that the team in Redmond is building. And why would we go with MSIX? I mean, it's a sandboxed app, so the integration to the operating system is not as good as a executable would be. And that's right, we have some stuff that is not available in MSIX, and maybe you can have 80%, 85% in MSIX, and the rest you have to handle, like executables, MSIs, etc. So you can't go 100% MSIX. So what should I do it? You should do it because MSIX is a sandbox solution. So once you have packaged your app, the software can't really put malware to your system. That's one thing. The other thing is it's a new format that Microsoft brought to the scene. So that's also why we should use it. The AppX format, which was the format we use in the store, Microsoft Store, is going to MSIX as well. So it is the new standard. If you have Azure Virtual Desktop, known as Windows Virtual Desktop, you also need MSIX as a app attach package. So this format is actually the new universal for every platform. The other thing is that MSIX needs to have a certificate. So in order for you to actually be able to install it, you need a certificate on your device. If I take one of these packages that I created, it would say in Danish that this is not a trusted package because I don't have the certificate on my device. So if we are looking into protection against malware attacks and stuff like that, we could have BitLocker or Windows Defender Application Control, which I know Dean also have been doing some video on the channel here. To actually make it more secure to have your app used on your environment. Because of the certificate and because of the managed installer, that would be a very, very good solution to integrate. So the last thing and format we are going to look at is scripting. So we all know that when we have a EXE file with unattended parameters, we need that shortcut to be deleted or these automatic updates to be disabled or whatever we need. And for those that are not into repackaging software like MSI or MSIX, we are looking at the script. So what could we leverage here? Well, I would say most people use the very known PowerShell app deployment toolkit here. And that would be something I also recommend to my customers when we are looking at some script installer, because this is a developed tool that has a lot of functions inside. And it's so proven that it's pretty free from bugs, etc. And it has so many functions that are neat in a environment to either install a software MSI, EXE files, transform files to MSI files, removal of shortcuts, put registry into registry database, either it's current user keys or local machine, remove earlier software on the device before the new installer comes to the device, etc. Actually prompt for processes that are open. So this is a proven tool and it's very used around the globe. So now we looked into the formats of what we actually can use and build. So now I want to go into Intune and show you what is actually inside here. And if we go to apps and we go to Windows, we have this little add button. And let's have a look at the different types here. What you can see is that we have the Microsoft Store app. And this one is used for actually referring to store apps. If we want store apps natively in Intune, we would go to a sync service where we actually say to Store for Business, I would like to have a grab into you and then sync whatever you have for me. And then you could assign these apps to your devices. The thing about that is the application itself is not coming from Intune. It is a integration to Windows Store for Business. So what I'm saying is Intune is leveraging the assignment to the device, but the binaries is actually coming from Store for Business. So we have Microsoft 365 apps, and that is the Office package that is known as Office 365. Microsoft changed the name all the time, so we have something to talk about, but it's just the Office package. And what it does here, it's actually creating a configuration. And again, it's not a part of Intune. It's just us assigning the software for the device. So the actually binaries doesn't come from Intune. It comes from Office CDN. Then we have the Edge installer. And everyone knows Edge since it was built upon the Chromium engine. It's very stable and it's a well-known browser. And the same goes with this one. It's just a service that we use. So what I'm saying is that this is not software that is coming from Intune. If we go down, we have web links, we have line of business, and we have Windows apps called Windows or Win32. These are actually coming from Intune. So when we do stuff with these three here, it actually uploads it to a blob storage, and it's a blob storage that we have no access for. So what should we actually use here? Well, web links, if you use those, you're going to hit whatever platform, iOS, Mac OS, Windows, etc. They work on all platforms. The other thing is line of business. And in the early days of Microsoft Intune, line of business was actually the only choice here. We didn't have the Win32 app possibility. And the line of business is actually a very, very easy way of implementing applications, but it doesn't support all formats. And I'm going to show you that. And then we have the Win32, which is the more advanced way of deploying applications, but also the preferred way of doing it I think so, at least. So let's look at the line of business. If we look into what format we can actually leverage here, we have Android, we have iOS, we have macOS, and we have, MSI, AppX, AppX Bundle, MSIX, and MSIX Bundle. So some of the formats that I showed you before. There's no EXE and no possibility to run scripts here. And that's a problem if you are not into creating MSI packages. So what we need to leverage, if we want to leverage scripts, we are going into the Win32, where we're going to have a process of 7 steps to implement this. But before you can actually upload a package as a Win32, you would need a tooling called Intune Win that will grab your files and put it into a kind of zip format, and then you can upload it to the portal. So what I usually teach is that if we're going to upload stuff into Intune, and I'm going to tell you why, we're going to have all these 7, 8, 9 steps actually. And before you do that, you should actually test your software. If you're not aware that your unattended file or your script is actually working, you shouldn't put it in Intune, because it is a huge work to redo stuff. And every time you select and upload the package, it needs to go to that blob storage. So it's not like Config Manager or some other on-prem system where you can just replace the binaries and then just upload and update that distribution point, and then the package is good to go. So we have a different process here, and that's why we need the proper testing. So let's have a look at the folder structure first. And the thing is, when we have a folder structure, we should also have a toolbox. So if we go ahead and look at the toolbox. So what I have in here, I have the Intune Win, I have PowerShell App Deployment Toolkit. And the Intune Win is actually a community tool from Damien. Most of you know syst and deploy.com. I can just show you quickly his blog. This one, he's a French guy, and he does a lot of PowerShell stuff. And he has so many great ideas and tooling for Microsoft Intune. And one of the tools I'm going to show you is actually his tool with a graphic interface, how to convert your application to an Intune Win. The other tool I want to give a go is the sysinternals tools, the Process Explorer, the Procmon, and the PSExec. The Process Explorer is a very good tool to actually see what goes on to the device. Here it is just a advanced task manager. And I like that because we can see which process has spawned which process. So if I had a software that I wanted to know all the childs of that software, I could see it very easily here. The other one, Procmon, is a tool that is very thorough at going through registry changes and file folder changes and stuff. So if we have software, for example, in a lockdown environment, and we have some access denied on some registry, then we can actually find out what registry and give it some permission to actually write to that specific part. So I really like this tool also to do some debugging. And then we have the PS exec, and we're going to leverage that to simulate a system context, because when we use Microsoft Intune, we have the possibility to install it as a user, and that is using the user's permission. But mainly, we're going to use the system context, which has a privileged permission on a device that has been enrolled to Intune. And that way, we can leverage the Intune management extension through the Win32 app catalog and actually have our installation going proper without having users to be local admins. And that's actually a very, very good trick to do the test in the proper context. So let's have this little toolbox into my environment here.
While you're at a break, how are we handling questions, Mattias?
Please go ahead and ask while I'm speaking, because it's actually much easier to have the question now if you have it, and then I'll answer it.
I thought so. So, very simple ones so far. So, can you share the link for the site? I assume that means the system deploy site, perhaps. If you're able to share that, or maybe one of the mods can put that into chat for us once we get that, and we can put it on the screen for everyone.
Yes.
Or if you can put that into our chat, Mattias, have you got a chat function? You should be able to share that link. Oh, you have. Perfect. Thank you.
So please just ask while I'm presenting. We'll do the questions while I speak.
There is another one, which is there any way to choose, from David, is there any way to choose, it keeps moving. Is there any way to choose the install order of apps if you set it so that Office 365 must go on before the user can log in? Is it random and may be delayed if Office happens to be at the end of the list?
That's a great question. That's a great question. Well, Intune is not a service like, you say, config manager. You could actually push for getting the policy here and now, and that's because of you have a backend that is actually running on your own servers. So you can scale it up, you can scale it down, and then you have the speed. Now, speaking into Microsoft Intune, we have a cloud, what do you say? We need to share all these resources and to be able to have the best speed for all customers. And I know there are globally lots of servers hosting this. There needs to be some rules. And for example, when we need to push a installation, it's not as fast as we know it is from on-prem systems. We have to wait, or we can actually go to the company portal or in the settings menu and sync the device. Be aware that if you sync 3 times in a row, your device will be kind of suspended, so you don't spam the service anymore. And I believe it's 2 hours. It's not documented anywhere, so don't write it down and come back to me with that. But that is to save the resources to the service. Did it answer your question? And then was the order of the applications. And no, you can't manage the order. That is strictly randomly. And if we talk into Autopilot, that is random as well. But there is a way, actually, and now I'm going to jump a little bit. If we use these dependencies, we can actually say application 1 needs application 2, and then assign application 1 to the Autopilot assignment. And then you would have the proper order of your installations every time, actually. So that's a way of kind of doing your application deployment in Autopilot like a task sequence. Yes. All right. Let's go
There was
back to
one more question.
Yeah.
And actually, there's two more questions. Should we leave them till later on, or do you want to go through them now?
No. Let's go.
All right. Okay. That was the wrong one. It moved again. So this is: would you recommend using MSIX natively in Intune, or would you wrap it in the PowerShell toolkit? Pros and cons.
That's a good question, and what we mean here is that if we use MSIX, we have the two possibilities: line of business app and Windows Win32. So personally, if I don't have any upgrade requirements or any specific requirements, I would always go with the least amount of time spent to create the application. But if I need some kind of upgrade scenario and I need to make sure my environment has a certain, I don't know, Visual Studio on the device or something like that, or cleanup rule to remove another MSIX, I would use Win32. So pros and cons is that MSIX works perfectly just as MSIX, and the pros about the PowerShell App Deployment Toolkit is that you can script whatever you want. So what is not in Intune today, you can just script and work around that. So I really like the custom possibilities. So that's the pros and cons about that.
Awesome. More questions are pouring in. So, what is the other recommendation other than the PS App Deployment Toolkit? I don't know if I don't know if you mentioned one. Did you?
I didn't really, but if I want to recommend something, I would recommend all that exists in Microsoft Store. I would use that because it's so easy to go to Microsoft Store for Business and then just get the application from there and sync it to Intune and assign it. And I can just show you one of my Microsoft Store for Business apps. I have an offline and online company portal. And as you can see, I have no choice of deleting this one, and that is because it's synced from the Store for Business. You can see I have a lot of available licenses, and the only thing I have to do is to assign it to my devices. So this is actually the most easiest way to have application management in your portal, and you don't need to take care of upgrades, etc. The developer that brings the app to the Windows Store will make sure that it actually streams the new app to your device, and it also upgrades automatically. So if I should recommend something, then go for the store apps as your priority one. And if not, use the PowerShell App Deployment Toolkit and together with Win32 apps.
Awesome. Thank you for the questions. Two more.
Two
This
more?
is an interesting topic.
It is.
How long is the sync task suspended for if you go over the 3 in a row?
I think it's 2 hours that you are put into the corner and say, no, you can't do that anymore.
Okay,
So it's
you.
not like 2 days or something, but
Yeah, that would be harsh, wouldn't it?
it's getting so that you should calm down.
And finally, from Andrew, thank you for this. What tips are there re-logging for app installs and how to capture telemetry and success versus failure on installation?
Yeah. Oh man, where to start? I mean,
Should we have a separate session on that?
yeah, we should have a separate session on that. I mean, the status back to the portal on applications. I don't know if you use Twitter, but 2 days ago, my good friend and MVP Peter Klaapvik from Netherlands, he tweeted a frustration tweet where he had a device going through Autopilot, and the only thing he could see in the portal was just a bunch of monitoring that the application was in the progress. But he could go to the device and he could see that the application was actually installed. So what's up with that? I mean, it is a cloud service, and we can't really do a lot of stuff if it's not coming to the portal. So I guess the point here is make sure every URLs to the service is whitelisted, and Microsoft have a fundamental page where they say these URLs you need to be able to speak to or communicate to, and as I told you on the different app formats, if you go with the Office installation or something with the store, then it's a separate URL that you're going to use. For example, I had a customer that was running this Autopilot, and we were using the online version of Office installation, this one. And suddenly it actually failed in the Autopilot process. And we found out it was because that this Office installation was grabbing its binaries from Asia. So it was too busy in Europe to actually grab these binaries, and it failed because we had blocked IP addresses from Asia. And I mean, how to go about that? Then you should do it like old days and grab all the files from Office and create a package, a proper package that actually go to the Intune blob storage and goes down from Intune. And that's the way around that. So, yeah.
It kind of shows you the resilience that Microsoft have put into the delivering these cloud apps. Well, the applications from the cloud, not cloud apps, delivering the apps to these devices. They've really thought it through. If Europe's busy, go to the next best place. But if you block, if you block that, then yeah.
And you have to think security in a cloud world, because you don't sit behind this firewall anymore. So you have to be resilient on every device now, and that's of course a problem. If you just open for everything, you are most likely getting hit by malware at some point. So it's a balance, but yeah, hope it answered your question there.
Yeah, he said he saw the tweet. I don't. You were in a flow and doing your session. So there is one final question, then this will be the last one for now, and we'll let you do some actual demo. So the comment is that we're going to migrate apps. Let me load it on a screen I can see. We're going to migrate apps from Config Manager to Intune very soon. Most apps are PowerShell wrapped. What's the easiest path to reach that goal?
Oh, yeah, that's what I also do a lot, transitioning Config Manager to Microsoft Intune only. And the most easy way to do that is and now I have to do just a little something for my channel. Sorry about that. It's shameless to do that on your own promotion.
It's a good
But
channel. Let's get it on the screen as well.
if you go to this channel, you have application migration from Config Manager to Microsoft Intune. So this fella, he is really great at what he do, Ben Whitmore. He tells us about a module that he created. Let's go to this one. GitHub, Ben Whitmore transition, if I can spell. That should be in here, his contribution on the migration, Win32 app migration tool. So he's not all the way to Microsoft Intune yet, but he's most of the way. And I'm going to show you the last bit in the last bit of this session, how to actually get it into Intune. So Ben, he has done a lot of good work here, basic work, to actually grab all these packages from Config Manager. And then you just need to get it the full way from Config Manager to Intune. And I could as well say you must see this video with Eirik, a Norwegian guy who lives in Brazil. He is very awesome at making application automation, which he does at the moment. And you should look at that demo as well, because he is showing you how to migrate the bits into Microsoft Intune. So that are two great resources for what you want here. I'm also going to show you a paid version at the last bit, where you can actually, there exists a migration engine from Config Manager to Intune that can on the fly change your package to MSIX and then import it into Intune. So we are going to look at that as well. And now I think I will proceed. Otherwise, we'll stay here the whole evening. I can talk for 3 hours, no problem. But let's see if the audience is that resilient to actually hear a thought about that. Okay, so we need, in the cloud world, we need a place to put our files. And if you don't have a lot of files, you could put that into teams. I like to do that because normally I don't have an environment with 1,000 applications, and these applications have hundreds of thousands of files, etc. Then you shouldn't put it onto a Teams, because it's the SharePoint behind, and it doesn't fit very well with a lot of files. But in this example, I would create a application management Teams, and I would sync it to my device. So the thing about that is, now I actually have a file storage where I can have my applications. So when my colleague or my customer or someone else needs to get this software, they know a central storage where I have it. So on this path, I would go to my tools folder, and I know it's a VB script. Who has used a VB script since this decade? I don't know, but it really works. And yeah, it does its job creating the folder. So create a manufacturer, product name, and version. And that could be Google Chrome version 97, something like that. And then we have a folder structure. And if we're developing the EXE file or MSI to something else, then I would spend and put my resource into that folder. When I'm finished up with my project, I would put it into final. And in the final folder, I would use that for config manager or whatever on-prem system I have to deploy. And then I would have an icon folder. That is the first thing that your users are going to look at. It's an icon and the visualization of that. So when they go to the company portal or the software center or whatever you are using to present your software, put an icon in there. It's so much easier for your users. I have an Intune folder, and here I would put my Intune Win file for my Intune to upload, and then I have a media to have the original installer. So if I had to redo something because it showed up that a function in the program deep down doesn't function properly, I could go back to the original software and I could find out what is the registry key or the service that I miss on my device. So that's the basic here. And once we have that, I would grab the software that I wanted to package, and that could be the Chrome Enterprise MSI. Let's put that into the final folder because it's an MSI, so I don't really have to do anything about that. So that would go in here. And then I would like to have that converted to Intune Win, so I actually have it ready for Intune. So I go to my tools folder here and the Intune Win program that Damien created. And let's see if it works here. So I'm going to browse for the source, and let's just go for the library. No, it's not there. Here it should be somewhere. Nope. Here it is, of course. And then the final folder. And as you can see, it's read my Google Chrome MSI. and then where we want to place the Intune Win file, and I'll put that into the Intune library. So now I can actually build that. If we go back, you can see my Intune Win file is going to be built, and that was quite easy. So I could do that by using the native Intune Win tool that Microsoft provides, but I like the GUI. I like the easiness of doing this with a graphic user interface. It was very, very easy. But didn't I forget something? Yes, I did. I forgot to actually test my installation. Because once I upload this and I find out that it didn't work properly, and as I told you, it's not as fast to deploy applications in Microsoft Intune as on-prem systems. That might go 1 or 2 hours before you are really ready to test your software through the system. So I would do that in, for example, the sandbox. So Windows Sandbox is something we got in every Windows 10 installation from versions we have. And it's an add remove program. You can just go in there and get it installed. So it's a virtual machine that spins up for us to actually do a lot of testing. And yeah, we just copy paste stuff in here. And I wanted to test my Chrome package, and I happen to already have created this as a PowerShell app deployment toolkit. So let's just grab this one and put it into the virtual machine. The other thing I'm going to remember is that I said Intune is installing by using system context. So let's say I have something in my installation that goes into the user library. When I'm in system context, it doesn't know anything about my user. So it can't put stuff in HKey current user. So that's why I'm actually going to test it with system context. Just for the easiness, I'm going to put my Chrome installation into the root of C, and then we are going to run a PowerShell with admin privileges. And let's just make a CMD of that and right click and hold shift down, copy as path, put it in here. And if we run it, you can see there is actually a lot of parameters for this executable. What we need is to use -S for run the remote process and system account. And then I want a CMD. So if I say, who am I? Then you can see my NT authority system. That's the system context. So now I'm ready to actually execute my package. So let's see here by going to the Chrome application and copy as path and run it. And now you see what's hiding inside that exe file. It's just a wrapper that actually executes a PowerShell script. So yeah, really cool. So while that run, I would go ahead and get it ready for Intune. So let me show the process here. And I had it in my virtual machine. Yes, I did. So let's get that out and just put it here in the root. And we'll come back to the sandbox environment once it finalized the installation. So let's go into Intune now and create a Win32 package. And now I'm going to show you how tedious this this stuff is because yeah, it's a lot of steps that you need to go through. So that's why we are actually going to automate this stuff. And because inside this Intune Win file, there's actually a file that Intune is going to read. So if we did this programmatically, inside, we could put a file that actually would be written by Intune, and we could have more proper information in here instead of me sitting here and modify that. So Google as a publisher, my name is Chrome. I could do all sorts of descriptions. You can see here you could put a lot of good examples of previews and stuff into the application. I'm not going to do that. And as you can see, it took my MSI version, which is not the real version of this Google Chrome package. It's actually 97. Why they do this, I don't know. And then select the logo. Of course, we need a logo. Did I have it in here? I didn't. Let's skip that part for now. As you can see, it already read that I had a MSI in my Intune Win file. And MSIX is the proper way of installing MSI packages. So we already know that. /I is for installation, /Q is for quiet, and /X is for on installation. And that makes sense. Why isn't it /U, for example? That would be making much more sense, but that's how it is. We have a restart behavior. We have a lot of return codes. And if you didn't want your device to reboot with a certain code, you could just change that to success, etc. So yeah, you could do all sort of stuff here. Let's do next. We have to choose a minimum operating system that we can have the bitness on that. I don't have 32 bits, so I don't want to allow that, and the minimum OS. And be aware here that you could actually think in a strategy here. If you have devices that are older than you want your environment to be, you could actually say, I want my devices to be 21H1. And of course, you should help your users upgrading the devices. But if you put this minimum, they couldn't install the app. So they were forced to actually upgrade the device. So this is a kind of saying, hey, you are too old OS, you need to upgrade that in order to install this application. But let's go ahead with a unsupported version here. And you could put in all sorts of stuff. Of course, we need a detection rule, and we could use a custom script. If you are familiar with Patch My PC, they use custom scripts to detect some of their apps. We are using a manual configure detection rule. And here we are giving 3 possibilities: MSI, file, or registry. As I had a MSI, I have a product code, and that is unique for this package. I will use that. I've seen many complaining that it has a false positive on this detection rule, so they also put a operator on the product version of this product to be equals, and then the version of that. I'm not going to do that right now. This is fine for my test environment. Now we come to the dependency that I was referring to in Autopilot. So if you want this process to be, okay, I need app 1, 2, 3 to go in the same order every time, then put in dependencies here and assign app 1 to the device that goes into Intune. But please be aware that you can have a maximum of 100 dependencies. I haven't seen a single customer having that many. So I think that's enough. Then we have Supercedence model, and this is for upgrading applications. Let's say we had an older version out there, and I wanted that to be removed once my new app came. This kind of technology will say, okay, then I'll take the old app and I'll use the uninstallation command for that. And then I remove the application and then I install the new application. So this is a kind of upgrade method, but you have only 10 updates here. So that's set. If you have an environment where you have more than 10 upgrades, you can't put them or fit them in here, all of them. So my question is, when can you say in your environment that you are 100% upgraded? Can you ever do that? I know these devices are online, you are doing it internet-wise, etc. You should be in contact with Intune. But when do you have 100% upgraded? So you actually can remove your supersedence. You can't say that. So does it make any sense to use supersedence? Maybe. Or maybe we should create a PowerShell script in PowerShell App Deployment Toolkit that actually made sure that when the new version of the app comes to the device, the script will check for the older versions and remove it. That way you clean your devices and you have only 1 or 2 applications of the same type in different versions. The thing is also, if you have a supersedent app, you're not able to delete that. So you can't clean up in your apps. So you would have like 10 old apps in your Intune environment. And who wants to look at old versions? Not me. I want a clean environment. So that was just a speech about the supersedence. Then we have scope tag, and that is only for ABAC. If you use role-based access, and most bigger or larger companies do that, then use scope tags for that. Assignments is where you can have a required installation that goes directly to the device without asking the user. It just need to go out there. You would use that one for Autopilot as well. And you can see we have all users, all devices that are virtual groups that are fit to Intune and optimized in the best possible way. Please be aware that if you add a group, it is Azure AD you actually ask here. And that group Intune needs to sync that into Intune itself, because it is Azure AD that we are asking over here in the right. So if you have too many apps with too many Azure AD groups with the same amount of devices or users in them, you would have a large overhead in your Intune environment. So please don't create a lot of Azure AD groups with the same devices to add your assignments. Use the same assignments as the same groups to assign applications. Then you would have the proper optimal design on executing your apps from Intune. And as you know, we have gotten the filters from Scott Duffy. So we can actually say, okay, my device needs to be named something before my app actually installs. So we could use all users, all devices, and actually granular that installation to our devices. The other thing is I could make it available for enrolled devices, and that's putting it into the company portal. And as you can see, that needs to be users. So adding this to users, and they can go in there and install it themselves. I've heard a lot of times, but what about my applications that contain a device license? And that license exists in the package that I'm provisioning here. Well, we don't have a flow that actually say, hey, boss, I need this software, you need to approve it, and then we can build some cost center or something like that. It doesn't exist in Intune, but there are blog posts how to do this in, for example, a mix of SharePoint and Logic apps, etc. There are lots of ways of actually doing some quite nice stuff here. And then lastly, the uninstallation. Now, having an available app in the company portal, you would think that you actually, if you installed the app, could go in there and uninstall your app. You can't. So there's no real possible way here to actually uninstall and clean up your own device when you made an available app. So I don't know if it will come to the company portal, but for now, you need to have a Azure AD group where you put either the user or the device into and make it a required uninstall. That's too bad, but yeah, that's how it is. And once I've done and finalized this, I create the app. Oh, that was a long process. And that's why I say test your stuff before you put it in there. And now on my sandbox environment, you can see I have exit code 0, and that's a very good error code to have because that means we are a success. So I know that my package and my script is working. So the work I just did here wasn't spilled.
We also, I've done a video on Microsoft Test Base. Have you had a look at that?
Yeah, and that's a really really, really great tool, Dean. TestBase,
Yeah.
yes, but I see TestBase as more like your critical apps. So if you have a really critical app and you need to test this against the new insider builds, then TestBase would be a really, really good add-on to your test environment, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it constantly checks the whether the application that you've packaged supports the new feature updates, the security updates that get pushed out, and it just automatically tests those.
Exactly.
Your audio is perfect, but your video is frozen. So I'm just going to drop you out of the stream and put you back in a second. Maybe that will help.
Thank you.
That didn't help at all. You're still quite static.
I'm static.
Yeah, there you're back.
Okay.
I think. Yeah, you're perfect. Good.
Good.
Okay,
Good.
I'll stop interrupting you.
Yeah, that's fine. So while this is uploading, I'll just go ahead and make it very angry at me while deleting some uploading stuff. So now you've seen the process of uploading these applications, and it is very, very, very a long process, I think. So how could we automate this? Well, let's throw all away this one and let's go into the automation here. If we look into the automation script, now this is some quite nice tooling from a guy called Nikolai Anderson. And he made this module called Intune Win32 app. So the guy, Eric, that I told you about, he's using this module. If Ben had the import to Intune as well, I think he would use this because it's so good. Once you have installed this, you have all what you need to actually import applications through Graph. So what I am doing here, I am installing the module, and then I am saying, okay, what are my tenant ID? And that is to connect to my tenant. Then I have a function that goes into Google and take the latest MSI, that is the enterprise MSI, and then it will download it from the internet. Then I have some folders that where I'm going to place these applications and the output file, and I've already gotten the Chrome JPEG file, and I went to Google and I go to the pictures and I just get an icon there and save it, and that's all I did. So everything in here is it's totally automated. So why don't we just try and run this? So first of all, it will try to get the latest version of the module. And once it has installed that, it will connect to my tenant. And then it will get the Google Chrome Enterprise MSI. And then it will change the MSI to a Intune Win file. And after that, it will start uploading the file and create all the work that we just made. So the whole process that we just went through is fully automated using this tool. And I can see it's not the fastest, but bear over with me. It's not my internet. I have a gigabit, so it should be fine from my end at least. So yeah, it's fun to actually watch this because yeah, you have the computer working for you. So and have a look at that. Current authentication token expires in 7 minutes. And that's actually a huge problem. If you have a huge migration project going from Config Manager to Intune, and you're using the bearer token, then there is actually possibilities that the bearer token is running out of authentication. And then, yeah, your transition is blowing up and you have to start from where it stopped. So that's too bad, but I've seen people doing some skills to continuously try to get this bearer token refreshed, but you must have some skills to do that. So what you see here is that it's uploading the package to our Azure Blob Storage, and yeah. So that's I mean that's the last bit that Ben needs to his tool, and that it's completed actually to transition. So
Hopefully
while
you
this
done
is
this right, because Ben's joined the session and says,
Ben is here. Good,
yeah,
Ben. Great.
thanks for
Yeah.
joining, Ben.
Yes. And yeah, good. So while this is uploading, we'll look at that in a few seconds. I want to show you the a paid version. So where you don't have to actually understand a lot of PowerShell stuff, but you want just to work with applications. So let's go to this RoboPack, and it's already logged me in. I've added my tenant. There's no installation. It's just to put it in here. I go to my packages, and I actually have this migration tool from SCCM, which is not SCCM, Endpoint Manager.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Could you zoom in a little bit just on the, I think the screen might be a little small.
Sure thing, sure thing, sure thing. Yes.
Maybe not zoom in, but the resolution on the browser maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks.
I'll do that. I'll do that. All right. So I have currently some apps in here, and now I actually want to have my new app. So this is a drag and drop process. If I take exactly, let's not take Chrome. Let's do this one instead. I'll drag and drop that, and then I can decide if I want it to a Intune Win and upload it directly to Intune, or I want to convert it on the fly to MSIX. So this is not just a upload tool, it's also a converting tool. I click next, and because it was a MSI, you know, it was a database, I can choose installation context and all that. Don't need to do anything because it is a MSI. And on the last part, I can actually say I want to create deployment assignments to Azure AD groups. Don't do that. As I mentioned, it brings overhead to have too many Azure AD groups with the same members in it. So I'm creating this package, and yeah, it's going to do this on behalf of my user. So there is a app in my tenant that I've given permission to actually do this on my behalf. And now it is converting this to Intune Win first, and after that, it is going to upload it into Intune. So let's see who goes first here. My automation finished. Let's see how that worked out. And let's go by column and have date created. And let's go by latest version here, latest date. I have my Google Chrome automation demo. So the only thing I have to do now is to go in here in properties and assign my application. Very, very easy. And as you maybe saw, my Smart Package Studio as well, coming from the paid version, is also in the console already. And I can also just assign that. Good. So that was about packaging. So now the last part is the fun part about Autopilot. So let's just put this into building, and then I'm going to tell you a couple of things about Autopilot. If I can remember my password, that was better. I'll bring up a console here, and I just have to put in a debug command so we can see what happens behind the scene. Set execution policy. Maybe.
You're in command, not PowerShell.
That's of course. Thank you, Dean. That usually works better. And we'll just bypass this one. Yes, sir. We install a script with the name get autopilot diagnostics. This is a script that is, I think it was Niehaus that made that. And it's very useful in autopilot scenarios. So how to debug stuff. And this is just to show you a fun thing that is not supported but actually can be brought to working. Now, we've talked about all these kind of packages and should we mix line of business applications and Win32 is the question. No, we shouldn't. If we look at the docs, it says you should not do that. And the reason why you shouldn't do that is that MSI is using the trusted installer on the device. So when we mix stuff, there's no real process that can make the order for us. So you could, for example, have a Win32 app that tries to install while the line of business application is installing. And if that is MSI, both of them, then you would have the problem with the trusted installer because you can only have one process going on at the same time. So that would go wrong, and that's why you don't mix it. And I'm using the online parameter because then I can actually get the names of the applications that run inside my environment. And it's installing 2 of 8 applications. So what we see in here is that I have Win32 apps. I have 3 of them. And then I have actually MSI packages as line of business, pending enforcement retry. So can I actually mix this and have it working? Yes, I can. And why is that? It is because a line of business is actually going to retry itself 3 times if it failed. So there are some resiliency in there. But the other thing I did was to add stuff into my script here. And if we are going down the path line, so we see that I am actually asking the trusted installer if it is currently running and if it is busy. And if it is, I'm going to sleep the script for 5 seconds and then I'm going to test it again. And once it is free, I am trying to install the application. And that's a process that you can bring into the PowerShell App Deployment Toolkit. And that's a way. I'm not saying you should mix it. I'm saying it's fun to play. And you should definitely go experience this yourself. Play around with stuff, because that's how you learn. So yeah, be curious. Go to the docs, see what's in those. Always think what's in the docs is what is currently supported. So if you see it in the docs, you're good to go. If you don't see it in the docs, ask someone and be clarified on how to proceed. So guys, this was actually the demo I had for today. I hope it was providing you a lot of good information. Just a single side note here, I've added a service UI that comes from the MDT toolkit. So I break out from system context and actually show a progress bar to the users. That's also a thing you can do with Win32. So, message here. Begin your application management properly. Find out what format you need. Find out with security what they want. Make sure you are able to upgrade your applications. Really think about if you're using Supercedence or not. And yeah, go play.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Mattias. That was really good, and got a lot more questions than I expected on that, and there was so much covered. So I think that you really did do that justice. There was another question in chat that I didn't want to interrupt you for, just to say the exam voucher entries are closed now. Your talk is over. So thanks to everyone who has messaged their preferred exam. I'm just trying to find this this comment. It was the best resource to study for MD 100 and MD 101 exams. Any recommendations there? We've already said Pluralsight, for example, or Microsoft Learn as a great resource. Any tips to add on the MD 101 or 100, Mattias, or anyone?
Tips. I mean, if you need a tip, I would recommend that you have a play environment. There are a couple of things you can do. There's a developer kit that you can actually go buy. It's free, so you can have that for 3 months. And if you use it and you develop, you can just play that you are a developer. It is going to renew itself. That's a good idea. The other idea is if you have a Visual Studio account or MSDN, it's called, I believe, you could have a CDX where you can have a environment 1 year. And the last is, yeah, that's the two things I believe. Then you can have a free environment with licenses and all that. So that's a very good way of learning Intune. And was it MD or MS 101?
MD.
MD. Okay, so that's about modern management. And yeah, you need to know your Intune stuff, and you need to know what compliance policies are. Update compliance. Yeah, I mean, all in Intune, you need to know what that is. Otherwise, you're not going to pass the MD 101. So there's also some questions about config manager or endpoint manager, configuration manager. So you need to play around. That's the best way, and that's the tip.
Thank you very much. That was awesome. That was over an hour of session, so thank you so much for going through that in so much detail, and thank you to everyone for the questions. Yeah, okay. So we were going to do a giveaway of a couple of exam vouchers. However, the YouTube comment picker website that we were going to use, in fact, every YouTube comment picker that we've looked at since I found the problem has don't work. So we can't pick a comment through a very handy button click on a website anymore, which was the idea to really make this flashy and transparent. We can't do that. So instead, what we're going to do is pick it live using the Google random number generator and an Excel spreadsheet. So I've been going through that. And Falcon, you are a little bit late, but I will let you in. So we've got 11 entries and numbered 1 to 11. So I'm going to share my screen in a moment and do that. I will say, though, that we only offered the fundamentals exams as part of this. We were going to give 2 fundamental exams away. However, there's no one. One, Andrew McCallum. Thank you very much. You've put in one of the fundamental exams. Everyone else put a proper expensive exam in there. So what we're going to have to do is do one, unfortunately. So we can only afford. We've only got enough funding for about that. So we're going to do one exam voucher as part of this session. So thanks to everyone who has given their given their entry. So let me just share this. Hopefully you can all see this very crude attempt at capturing this information, but hopefully it'll do the job. So I'm going to click the button once, the generate button once. Hopefully it hasn't timed out and it will actually give me an answer. If the answer is 0, obviously no one actually wins, but we'll generate it again. And please, at the end of this, stay... Falcon. Should I take you out, or would you like to choose another exam? I'll let you answer that in a minute. Okay, so the idea is that once I have chosen this, you'll see who you are on the Excel sheet, numbered 1 to 11. I'll just expand that a little bit actually, so we can actually see everyone. Apologies. And if you see your name and you've won, then please message us in. Sorry, Andrew QMS, I'm not putting you in. That's a bit too late. If you have one, please message us on Twitter, and we can get you your prize. Good. Go on then. Okay, so Falcon. This is a mess, isn't it? Falcon swapped with Andrew. Right, and my screen's gone funny. It's all going well. Fine. Okay, so hopefully we can just click this button, generate a random number from 1 to 11. Anyone on the team see anything I've done wrong before I click this button, or are we all good to go?
I think Andrew's exam's MS 101, not MD, but apart from that...
More expensive, isn't it? Good. All right. So we'll click the button, and you have a couple of minutes to let us know that you're still in the chat. And if you're not in the chat, I'm afraid we have to pick another person. So please do let us know you're in the chat if you do win. I'm clicking the button in 3, 2, 1. Number 3. Wow, ready. Congratulations. You have won an exam voucher, which is MD 101. And honestly, you've been an awesome follower of us since the start. So thank you for sticking with us. It's been a good journey. We are very close to 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. Not really, haven't checked during the stream, but we were very close when I last looked. 1,994. So if you haven't subbed, please do subscribe. Radu, I know you're in the chat, so thank you for that. So we've got a few more things to just briefly go over, which is some events. Did anyone have any questions from the team? Any questions for Mattias before I jump these on the screen?
Just really, really good session. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you very much, guys. Yeah, I mean, I have my own Intune cloud here in on my server right here on my right side, so that's why it worked. No, just kidding, just kidding. Tested a million times.
All right, awesome. Okay, so events. We have a really busy week this week. Actually, not our channel personally, but in the community. So tomorrow we have the Cloud Community Quiz hosted by Shabazz Dow and John Lunn, and me in the background. So you can sign up for your chance to win, and we have some awesome prizes with this one. So this is a Stream Deck Mini that you can win. I think that's first prize. Second prize is a Sennheiser set of headphones, fresh out of the box from Sennheiser, or EPOS as they like to be known. And third prize, I think, is a bag of swag from Microsoft. So that's going to be good. It's 40 questions, just a quiz. No technical content, just a quiz about various things. We've got a picture around. It'll be awesome fun. So please join. You do need to sign up. You do need to RSVP for your chance to win, but you don't need to sign up. If you just want to play along for fun, you don't need to register. Just come along to the... it's a Teams meeting, so you do need to actually register for the link. But if you don't want to win, then you don't necessarily need the code that we'll send you. The code is there to make sure we can identify you, because these are really high value prizes. We've got over $500 worth of prizes, and the Stream Deck Mini actually comes as a prize pack from Elgato, and that's the biggest thing in there is the Stream Deck Mini, but it's a prize pack. So thanks to those guys for sending that on. After that, we have Thursday's session at 6:30. Bradford Cloud User Group are hosting their session. I didn't have enough time to put the details in there, but do have a look for that on Twitter and follow those guys. Then I'm sure there are some events before that, and if anyone has any events coming up, put them in chat. But for us, we've got the Microsoft Spotlight User Group. It's their first session, and I'm doing a talk, so I put that in this list for us. That's at 6:30 as... Oh, it's not 6:30, actually. That one is at 4:30, so apologies to the team for that one. Finally, we have the 24th of February, which is at 8 o'clock. It's late. 8 o'clock. No one can decide what's the best time for a session, I think. So that's at 8 o'clock until 10, and that is the Microsoft Cloud Security User Group. Again, their first session ever. So awesome.
Do you want to just change the...
Yeah, we've lost.
Oh, my bad.
Bottom part.
I'm not looking at that screen. There you go. Is that better?
Thank you.
So many screens to look at. This is a tough job. I'm glad I don't do this for a living. It'd be terrible. Right. Again, thanks to our sponsors, Recast and Policy Pack, especially Recast, who are having a webinar series coming up over the next few couple of months, I think. I'll put the details in here in a second. But 4 webinars coming up from them, which are pretty awesome. So please take a look. There's the link, and it's also in the description for this. But covering a load of stuff like AD, Laps, BitLocker dashboard, stuff that they're really experts in. So please take a look at that. There was meant to be another screen with the rest of them. Looks like it's going to build. There you go. 4 webinars. And that is it from me. Please do follow us on the CM community. Anything from the team? Yeah. Awesome. So thanks to everyone for joining. I feel like I've forgotten something, and it might become really obvious when we end the stream. So anyone jump in, tell me what I've forgotten. Otherwise, thanks for everyone for joining this session. It's been really good fun.
No, the only other thing I'd say, that not that you've forgotten, is if you're wanting to play around on the Intune learning stuff, if you're wanting to play around, there's a Microsoft 365 developer program you can sign up for, which gives you some licenses to play around with for free for 90 days. So I'll drop that in chat if that's something useful for you.
Yeah, Mattias mentioned that as part of the talk, but it was buried in all that other information. So thanks, Simon. That's good.
Our next session's on the 8th of February as well.
Good one. Yeah, that should have mentioned our session. Yeah, and that is with Patch My PC, which is going to be really, really good fun. We are going to have a demonstration of their tool, and we all know, a lot of us know what's going on at Patch My PC. They've got a few new hires that are pretty impressive, and the team was already pretty good. So it should be a good session with those guys, and that's on February the 8th. And we are going to be giving away some more exam vouchers during that. I think 3, maybe 4, depending on what we can squeeze out of the team and how many people we get joining. So yeah, this should be really good fun. And thanks to everyone in the chat for all of your comments and questions. They're still pouring in. So awesome. Thank you very much. That's it from us, I think. Great evening.
Yeah. Thank you all.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks.